Welcome to the podcast recording of Middle East AI News Live for Thursday, November 30th, 2023. Brought to you by Carrington Malin, marketing for an AI-first world. You're listening to my discussion with Reda Nidhakou, Interim Head of VentureOne, the commercialization arm of the Advanced Technology Research Council, where we discuss the launch of Abu Dhabi's new AI company, AI71. I talk with Reda about the rationale for establishing a new AI company, the success of the Falcon large language model series, developed by Technology Innovation Institute, plus AI71's proposition for customers, developers, and the wider AI ecosystem.
In today's Thursday Deep Dive, we're going to be talking about the launch of a potentially global AI company headquartered in Abu Dhabi, offering platforms and services built on Falcon LLM. The new company is called AI71. AI71 is planned and built by the commercialization arm of Abu Dhabi's Advanced Technology Research Council, VentureOne. And AI71 was launched on Tuesday at an event at Sariyat Island, where the Secretary General of the Advanced Technology Research Council, His Excellency Faisal Al-Banai, introduced the new company vision, focus, and key advantages. Among other things, AI71 will become the custodian and go-to-market vehicle for the Falcon series of large language models, as I mentioned, developed by TII. And of course, the launch of the new company comes at a time when the world is obsessed with AI and large language models. And it's clear to many business leaders that LLMs are going to play an increasing role over many use cases in many sectors, requiring many different AI models and many different specialized data sets to train them on. And part of the rationale for forming AI71 is to provide open source large language models to rival proprietary technology, so the likes of OpenAI and Google, without forcing customers to send all their data to US servers. AI71 will provide advanced AI models and platforms whilst allowing customers to retain their data sovereignty, which means they have the option of keeping their data on their own servers. And I'm going to be joined by Reda Nidhakou of ATRC's commercialization arm VentureOne to talk about AI71. Reda is the interim head of VentureOne, which has a mandate to shape an R&D ecosystem in the UAE capital. Its role is to help commercialize technologies developed by the ATRC's Technology Innovation Institute, also known as TII, and the creation of dedicated ventures to produce, productize, and commercialize selected technologies. Reda is also Senior Vice President of Strategy and Portfolio Management within Edge Group's chairman's office, Edge, of course, being Abu Dhabi's defense and defense technology conglomerate. He's held several senior management roles at Edge and has played an instrumental role in establishing initial governance and operating model for the group, managing multiple group-wide initiatives focused on innovation, digital training, Industry 4.0, and talent development. At VentureOne, Reda heads VentureOne and oversees strategic initiatives, acquisitions, and incubating of new ventures within ATRC and across the broader Abu Dhabi ecosystem. He also works closely with the ATRC's board of directors and advises on council's strategic programs. So a warm welcome to Middle East AI News Live, Reda Nidhakou. Thanks very much for taking the time to join us and to talk about the launch of Abu Dhabi's new AI company, AI71. Good afternoon, Reda.
Hi, good afternoon, Carrington. Good afternoon, everyone.
Great to have you here this afternoon. First of all, congrats on the launch of AI71 this week. It was really self-evident, the priority attached to this was self-evident, and also the commercialization of AI models coming out of R&D in Abu Dhabi, and that this has been given a high priority by the government. And the event itself was launched by His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Mohammed Al Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and Chairman of the Abu Dhabi Executive Council. Meanwhile, I counted 3 UAE government ministers in attendance, plus the support from many people in the technology industry. So brilliant to have you here to talk about this. I had a lot to talk about as well. So let's begin with a quick recap of what happened on Tuesday, perhaps, and the vision behind AI71. And then we can move forward into more detail to talk about the Falcon story and how AI71 is going to take that forward. Now, the intention to create a new AI company to focus on commercialization of AI models was first announced by the ATRC Secretary General Faisal Al-Banai in September. So I think by Tuesday, everybody was absolutely dying to know more and what was going to happen. And it was a big reveal. And I think we were very happy with that. Could you walk us through what led up to that event on Tuesday and what the broad vision and goals are for the new company.
Yeah, thank you. And in fact, this week we are super excited about launching the first company out of VentureOne in a very dynamic domain, which is AI. So AI71 aims to basically leverage AI and Falcon open source models specifically in creating impactful solutions in meaningful domains like medical, legal, education, and government services. What we stand for basically is to keep AI solutions accessible to all and for data to remain controlled by its own owners. Hence the choice of open source models like Falcon. So what led to the event this week is a natural evolving of any technology that gets created into TII. So the technologies that get created into TII gets handed over to VentureOne for commercialization. I guess the case, the AI one wasn't that difficult to make. And we are today in a situation where we have a massive traction for Falcon being one of the most performing open source models out there. And we have huge traction from customers reaching out to us locally and globally to adopt it.
Brilliant, thank you. And you've actually touched on something that I was going to come on to, is it might be useful for those that are listening to understand the relationship between the ATRC and Technology Innovation Institute and VentureOne, and then sort of how that works together to produce something like AI71.
Sure. So ATRC is the council in charge of applied research in Abu Dhabi, from policies to strategy, all the way to research execution and commercialization. Under ATRC, there are three key subsidiaries: Aspire, TII, and VentureOne. TII is the main research execution subsidiary. It was created 2-3 years ago. Today, it has 10 research centers underneath it, around 1,000 researchers from 70 nationalities, and more than 100 research projects fairly advanced from a progress perspective, and more than 70 international research collaborations. VentureOne, from the other side, is the commercialization arm of ATRC. It's in charge of taking these technologies when they get ready in TII to market. So either through technology licensing or through venture building specific dedicated ventures to commercialize these, like it happened this week with AI71. So Falcon has been one of these technologies that was created by the AI Research Center, which is one of the 10 research centers under TII. It had an amazing success as a top performing open source one. And the case for taking it forward was quite clear in VentureOne. So we decided quite urgently, actually, to create a team around it and start taking it to market.
I'm glad I left that bit to you. It's quite an organization. I think the response for the Falcon series of LLM models, I think from the 40B model, was just fantastic. And I think there were over 12 million downloads of the 40 billion model. Can you tell us something about that response and how you think developers have seen this launch of the Falcon series and how they're using that? Because I've already seen products out there that have been developed on Falcon.
Yeah, I guess even ourselves, we were quite positively surprised by the massive traction that Falcon had from the 40B all the way to the 180B. I guess, as you mentioned, more than 12 million downloads, a huge traction from a customer perspective as well. Organizations locally and globally reaching out to us and wanting to build custom applications on top of Falcon. I think this is a good testimony on the importance of open source and how the fact that we've decided to put Falcon as an open source model has actually created this traction, which means basically that developers and organizations out there are also aware and conscious about the importance of openness in this kind of powerful solutions.
Wow. So you had customers outreach on the Falcon models from the beginning then. It's a great sign.
100%. And this is what basically pushed us to create AI71, which will focus mainly on three things. One is keep feeding the developers community with tools and enablers that will allow them to adopt Falcon in the most efficient way. On the second hand, building our own solutions based on Falcon in sectors that matter to us, like medical, education, legal, and so on. And third is to work with these customers actually to address their own use cases, building upon Falcon.
That's great. This overall, in the reason for creating institutions like TII is to create more IP at home in the UAE that can be used at home and exported, that is desirable for companies around the world to buy and to use. So this is really proof positive that this strategy has got a lot of legs. It's something that we've already got traction for.
Definitely. I think the essence of TII itself and the broader ATRC ecosystem is to actually drive innovation from within Abu Dhabi. And I think Falcon is a great example of a successful technology that has a global impact and that ranks one of the top ones globally. Recently, it has been reported that the UAE is one of the top 3 countries when it comes to AI. And I think Falcon has played some role in there, and we are really, really glad that it did. I think building technologies and innovations from within Abu Dhabi was key to actually embrace innovations and further support Abu Dhabi as being a hub for advanced tech.
Yeah, and I think it's useful actually as a backdrop to have OpenAI make ChatGPT available and to see the global reaction to that, because one of the things that Mr. Al-Banai focused on during the event on Tuesday was the issue of data sovereignty. And of course, this has come up again and again with organizations around the world as they look at models like ChatGPT. That's all well and good, but why do we want to send all our data to somebody else's server sitting in another country? And part of the plan for AI71 is to offer solution for some of those problems.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think the launch of ChatGPT has allowed to kind of socialize and simplify the use of these kind of LLMs and prove their potential to the, let's say, the average Joe. In fact, in TII, we started working on LLMs before the launch of ChatGPT. We've actually launched Noor, which is our Arabic model, way before ChatGPT got announced publicly and so on. We were already close to finalizing Falcon when ChatGPT went out. I think ChatGPT helped in making this technology understandable by the average person. It also demonstrated the potential of this kind of technologies to the developers community. And then when Falcon came out and came with this differentiator of being open source, allowing data control to the end users, but also to the developers being able to install the model in their own instances on the cloud or on-prem and so on, gave us a very good traction. So if you want, ChatGPT kind of prepared the ground for us to come into the picture.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that. So let's go back to the offering that AI71 has, because it is quite ambitious and there are a few parts to it. And also, I think it's worth trying to explain and put into context that commitment to open source and also the commitment to develop proprietary platforms that can be sold commercially.
Yeah, I guess if I start with TII and the broader ATRC ecosystem, I think we've made it very clear that we'll keep being committed to putting and working on open, sophisticated LLM models and putting them on the hands of the developers community. We think this is key for this kind of powerful technology. It is very important to have an alternative, sophisticated solution out there that people can use freely while having control of their own data. So this is something that TII has committed on, and we have quite an interesting roadmap when it comes to technology development in that front. Now, from AI71 perspective, there are 3 areas we'll focus on. The first one is to make those models further accessible to the developers by creating a marketplace supported by different enablers that make these models accessible at a more efficient way for the developers. But most importantly, what we are working on is basically to create impactful solutions that are based on Falcon. And this goes from fine-tuning the models based on proprietary data, all the way to creating the solutions themselves. We started now by medical, education, legal, and government services, but we are already exploring other sectors where we'll be building our own solutions. In parallel to this, what we are doing as well, and because of the massive traction that we've got from local and global end users, we are also working hands on hand with some of the end users to create specific solutions for them and allowing them to host these solutions on their premises.
Right. And the event on Tuesday, you announced a number of partners, including some technology partners. Is there a view at this point what role partners are going to play in your go-to-market and your support plans for Falcon and the other platforms that you produce?
Yeah, I guess we are very fortunate to be in the UAE, in a place that is able to attract great talent from all over the world, but second, is also a place that can attract different partners in different sectors and so on. I think we believe that what we want to achieve, we cannot achieve it by ourselves, and we'll definitely partner wherever relevant to make things happen faster. The partnerships we've announced on Tuesday are part of a longer list of partners that we will be working on different fronts. But I think it shows already that we've lined up partners in different sides of and different ingredients that are necessary for our success, whether it's data labeling and annotation, whether it's end users adoption, whether it's compute power with the likes of AWS, or building custom infrastructure with the likes of WWT and so on. I guess the lined up of Tuesday shows quite a diversified set of partners that complement each other's, and that list will only keep increasing.
And do you have, again, a vision for how customers in, say 2 years' time will engage with AI71? Is this likely to be a model where you encourage partners to sell to customers, or is it something that you'll provide a platform for that others will build on, or is it bespoke solutions that you'll create? Where would you put your sales pitch, if you like, and your distribution?
See, we are not limited to one way of doing things. I think, as I explained before, the aim is to have different models. We are very open to partnering with partners who can take our own solutions out there globally, but we are already providing the platform for developers, startups, companies to build their own solutions. So we are really encouraging everyone to basically build solutions on top of Falcon, and we are happy to support them to complement the solutions that we will be building ourselves. So I guess our bespoke applications is something that we will take to market ourselves or using partners, but we will also ensure that we keep empowering developers, startups, companies to build their own solutions based on Falcon.
Right, right. So despite having your own offerings, this is going to be quite an open ecosystem where you do have developers and technology partners and customers that partner with you, developing their own models and solutions.
100%. That's exactly the objective.
And this is a company that's been established with ultimately a global ambition. But I guess the confidence for that comes from the response TII and ATRC have got to Falcon this year. And getting those global inquiries and global customer inquiries must really give confidence to the fact this could be something that is popular around the world and that many companies use.
Yeah, I think it's not that it could be. I think it will be. Today, honestly, from a technology perspective, we are already on the global scene. In fact, we are actually on the top list when it comes to LLM models performance, but also country adoption and country readiness to embrace AI. So I think we are already there. From a customer engagement, we are already engaged with a couple of countries that want actually to adopt Falcon at a country level and be behind Falcon because they understand the importance of open source in this kind of powerful technologies. They look back into the internet era and how certain technologies have been controlled by few players. pushing basically the end users to accept sometimes non-ideal conditions just to benefit from certain technologies. I think the countries and the organizations who look back and observe what happened in the internet era, they already understand and they want to stand behind a model like Falcon. So I think today we have a massive global adoption from developers. We have a technical performance that stands out globally, and we already have traction from countries, but also global organizations wanting to collaborate with us and integrate Falcon into their solutions and so on. So I think it is not an ambition for the next years. It's actually, we are starting with the global footprint already, and we will be tackling the global needs as much as we are tackling the local ones.
Great. And you mentioned quite a few good points in there. And democratization is a very interesting one because it's one thing to democratize access, as we've seen with the global internet developing over the past 30 years. But if all of your data is all going to the same place, then there are other types of democratization that are needed. So allowing open source platforms to promote that choice and that ability to retain your own data is an obvious one, really. And hats off to TII and ATRC for making that step forwards. So, Reda, returning to our conversation, I think we've talked about open source now. I've read different things on the different Falcon releases, open source, open access, and I think there's some changing licensing along the way as well. Could you explain what how the current licensing works broadly, and whether this will change or whether it's something that is likely to stay the same?
Sure. Maybe just to build up on what you've been saying before about open source, I think we strongly believe at AI71 and the broader ATRC ecosystem that AI should remain accessible to all, to get the most out of it, and also to ensure that data and the power of AI are not controlled by few players. This is a key statement for us, and we will keep focusing on this and bringing in as accessible models as possible to the market to be able to have this alternative. Now, if I am to give an example, I think Linux is a great example that we aspire to. And we aim to be the Linux of AI, and we think we have the required ingredients to do so, starting from Falcon itself. Now, if I go back to your second question about the royalty or the license model, today, Falcon models are accessible to everyone, whether you're a developer, company, country, with the royalty-free license that allows you to basically download Falcon, install it in your own machines or in your own private cloud, and simply use it without owing us any royalties or anything. We thought this is a very important positioning to remove any barriers for developers to adopt the model. Will this evolve? The answer is, as I said in the beginning of the podcast, we will keep committing to putting out there accessible models that are as sophisticated as possible. Now, if we train models based on proprietary data to build the specific own solution, that solution will be commercialized as a specific solution, whether it's medical, education, and so on and so forth. But the models, the foundation models themselves, this is something that TII will keep pushing the bar on and will keep feeding the open source community with these models.
Right. And are there any special conditions or restrictions on those licenses?
Yeah, in Falcon 180B, there is simply one caveat, which is for cloud providers who want to share an instance and provide Falcon as a consumption, as a per token to consume. This is something that we've asked the cloud providers to get back to us and align with us on this, because simply we would like to make sure that the experience is normalized, and because this is something that we are also bringing to the table in our marketplace, we want to make sure that the developers get the same experience, pricing, and so on and so forth when it comes to consuming Falcon as a service. Now, when the cloud providers provide hosting to host Falcon, this is not something we interfere with, and this follows the royalty-free license. So the only let's say, restriction in the latest license we had is when a cloud provider wants to provide Falcon as a service, they need to align with us on a special license so that we make sure that the conditions and the pricing of using Falcon and the SLAs and the accessibility are consistent.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. And what about plans in terms of support of that wider ecosystem? Because if we look back earlier in the year to those 12 million downloads, obviously it's not anybody's business to answer 12 million phone calls on an AI model. So how do you see that falling into place moving forward? And you mentioned the marketplace. We've been through the licensing. Is there any other areas of support that developer community, technology vendors, might be able to draw on in the future?
Yeah, I guess the marketplace, the intent of the marketplace is in fact to make these enablers accessible to the developers. So the aim basically is to put on the hands of the developers all the tools they require to be able to download, leverage, optimize, and make the most out of these models. So this is number one. So the aim is really to put these enablers out there for the developers community to consume them before or without having to come back to us. The second element we are working on is really to optimize the footprint of the model, because today, one of the key barriers of adopting these models is the cost to inference these models. As you may know, when you use these models, you are using compute power behind, and compute power today, one, is rare, second, is expensive. And we are working very hard currently into optimizing that footprint to allow the developers and the end users to consume Falcon and our models without increasing massively their costs.
Which is very important.
Yeah, and maybe just to add one thing, the third element, which we believe is very important, is our commitment to basically keep enhancing these models and putting them out there. Because the last thing a developer wants is to build his solution based on a closed API, and tomorrow the API changes and he has to change all his code or application, or his application doesn't support the API anymore, and so on and so forth. So us providing full access to the developers to the model and committing to basically putting out there enhanced models and giving the developers the choice to adopt these enhanced ones or keep using the previous ones and so on, gives the developers also the confidence of continuity of service for their own applications.
Which many developers can relate to, given changes from other companies in the last couple of months.
100%.
Let's leave it there. I know there's a sort of very broad spectrum of developers that have already experimented with the Falcon models, from single developers to people that are looking for a platform to build their product on, to customer organizations. Have you had feedback on solutions and work that has been done on Falcon already by other organizations?
Yeah, we continuously listen and meet different developers who adopt. We actually proactively reach out to developers who adopted Falcon and built applications that are successful. We try to further support them, but we try also to learn from what they did. Some of the developers did amazing things in optimizing Falcon and having some innovative ways of implementing it and so on. So we are in constant touch with these developers. Now, we are still a small organization. We are growing. And as we grow, we will be able to provide further support to the broader community. Now, as I told you before, we're also working with certain end users locally. We've announced a few of them in the event on Tuesday to actually sit with them and design with them the best use and the best leverage of Falcon for their own use cases and so on and so forth.
Great.
And maybe just one more thing. I think what's important is to keep supporting the developers, but also there are two other elements here, the startups and the universities. So we are having dedicated programs for universities and startups, where we've announced on Tuesday that with Hub71, which is one of the key incubators and accelerators here in Abu Dhabi, we are launching a program early next year to attract startups that build on Falcon and provide them incentives, whether it's compute power, incubation, tech expertise, coaching, and so on, to further encourage them to actually, one, come to Abu Dhabi, and second, to build based on Falcon. The same thing is happening with universities, where we are launching a program where we provide compute power to universities all over the world to encourage them to build stuff on Falcon without necessarily getting anything on return. So all we want is for them to experiment and get to use Falcon.
Great, that's extremely valuable. So given that AI models are in development all the time, this is the Falcon series of models, and potentially other series that might come in the future are going to be the subject of ongoing development. That sort of makes TII a long-term partner, doesn't it?
100%. I think the choice of basing our solution based on Falcon is one, of course, because we belong to the same organization and we believe in the potential of TII and its research centers and so on. And of course, because of the success of Falcon. Falcon has demonstrated great success, and I think building on it is something that we see as a long-term commitment from our side in AI71.
Great. Which is another core strength of the new company, to have that R&D capability behind it.
100%.
We've had the lead up to the launch and the launch event on Tuesday, and the sort of mission and vision and the priorities laid out. What can we expect to hear from AI71 during the coming months?
Yeah, I guess on the R&D side, we will double down when it comes to enhancing our models and fine-tuning them for specific domains, whether it's multimodal, vision, speech, and so on, or even sectorial fine-tuning for medical, legal, education, and so on and so forth. We will keep standing for accessibility to all and customers' ownership of their own data. So we'll do whatever it takes to bringing in solutions and platforms to allow this to happen and to remain. We'll do a lot of work, of course, when it comes to talent attraction and securing proprietary data to further improve our models. I think, as it was stated in our launch event, data is definitely a key topic now for the next couple of months, and we will do all what it takes to basically secure enough data to have as powerful models as possible.
I'm glad you mentioned multimodal, because I think the next year is going to see a lot of developments in multimodal models and a lot more usage by end users and developers. So that's something that we'll definitely see in the coming year, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think whether from an R&D perspective, where the next models are definitely either models of models or multimodal models, this is something that the teams are already working on, and we have a clear technical roadmap for early next year to launch some of our multimodal Falcon versions and so on. From a solutions perspective, whether it's medical, education, or legal, these start with text-based solutions, but they will all evolve to multimodal-based solutions. If we take medical, for example, we're starting with the diagnosis and this kind of features, but we'll end up with reading X-rays and reading imagery and so on and so forth. So basically, our solutions will naturally follow as well the evolving of these models.
So a lot of work to do. You mentioned hiring and development and engaging with the ecosystem. Who does AI71 want to hear from during the coming couple of months? Are the people that should be reaching out to you now and engaging and finding out about how they can work with you?
Well, I think great AI talent is, of course, welcome to reach out to us. We'll be hiring massively and selectively in the next couple of months to build strong teams that can deliver and continue delivering these products. I think there is a lot to do when it comes to startups and universities, as I said before, because these are key enablers to basically adopt Falcon, but also make sure it stays and it's not just a spike. And last but not least is partnerships. As I told you before, we believe we cannot do it all ourselves. So we will keep looking for great partners, whether from a technical optimization perspective, whether it's end users to co-build with them solutions, or whether it's partners to take our solutions globally.
Yeah, and I tend to see also a big plus from AI71 for developers in the region to have the IP and the R&D and the vision and development based in the UAE in Abu Dhabi and on the doorstep could actually bring developers to the UAE.
Definitely, I think it makes it so much easier to have the product teams, the engineers, and the R&D team sitting in one place and working hand in hand in building these solutions.
Great, a lot to look forward to. I have to round off today because we haven't got much time left. Any final words for companies that are interested, whether they be developers or end user organizations that are interested in building on Falcon LLMs? And I guess also, who would be the people in those organizations that would identify the need and start doing something with it? You know, are we talking about the heads of AI, or are we also talking about the heads of different domains and with particular needs, like you mentioned?
I guess in this current era is not anymore only the heads of AIs who deal with these LLMs. I guess everyone now in every organization talks about them. If you allow me, I would rather address the individuals or the organizations that did not touch Falcon yet, because I guess the ones who already considered it have actually a path forward and are already, let's say, advanced in that front. For those who did not, I guess my call to action here would be to invite any developer, company, country to evaluate Falcon and to adopt it and create impactful solutions out of it. And I guess what I would invite them to do is to reflect back on the internet and the overall digital landscape and how it evolved to a closed source and to extrapolate that to the AI domain and its massive potential. Because once you do so, then you understand the value of standing behind open source models and making sure they survive or even thrive actually in this era.
Yes. And if you're able to make that easier to do for organizations in terms of compute, then that really sets the commitment quite low for companies that want to start experimenting and looking at how models like this can help them achieve their objectives.
Absolutely. Our different programs, whether to developers, startups, universities, all aim to make it easy to them to adopt these models by providing compute power, but also by providing technical expertise, coaching, and support for them to make it as easy as possible for them.
Great. Reda, thank you so much for joining us on Thursday Deep Dive today. It's been really great to have a chat about all the things I heard about on Tuesday and looking at what's going to happen during this coming year. And I hope to bring you back again at a later date to give us an update.
Thank you. We'll be glad to do so.
I've been talking to Reda Nidhakou, Interim Head of ATRC's commercialization arm, VentureOne.
You've been listening to a recording of Middle East AI News live for Thursday, November 30th, 2023, brought to you by Carrington Malin. Thanks for listening.